Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, September 17th, 2025, and the Philadelphia Phillies are National League East champions. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight. Not with my partner. My partner, Jim Chet Chesko, will be off tonight, although he'll be checking in by video a little bit later. The Phillies continue to play hot baseball, capturing the NL East title and now chasing down the Milwaukee Brewers for the best record in the National League. The Eagles went into Kansas City and came out with a big road win, beating the Chiefs 2017. The Flyers are now just 22 days away from opening regular season. We have it all covered, and we'll make our NFL and margin of victory pool picks too. So we're off to a great start on that. We've got plenty to talk about tonight in Philly sports. Hey, with that, we are loaded with great guests tonight with the Kevins. Former Eagles linebacker and motivational speaker Kevin Reilly will be talking birds, and former Philly shortstop and current radio analyst Kevin Stocker will be by a little later to talk Phillies. So let's get to it. Let's welcome. Let me see. By the way, why I'm trying to do all this, I'm hitting all these buttons. So I got all the buttons. Usually me and Chet share these buttons. So I am going to do my best to get everything going where it's supposed to go when the time comes. So with that, we're going to try to welcome our friend Kevin Reilly back to Philly Pressbox Radio. There he is. Kevin, I got it right, buddy.
You got it, buddy. I'm glad to be with you. And we got this 2-0 start, and I got a couple of ideas on how they hung in there the first two games.
Well, hey, first of all, I wanted to ask you how you're doing. It's been a little while since we've seen you on here, and I know you've been a little under the weather. How you feeling? Everything good?
Yeah, I just keep coming back for more.
There you go.
When I get to heaven, St. Peter's going to say, "What did you do with all the parts?"
Well,
I'm feeling super healthy right now. I had a close call there in January where they opened me up and they found that I had a very rare very rare disease that only 4 other adults have had or is documented. And this thing could have killed me. It was hanging on to this plate that was in my my area from my first operation 45 years ago, and it really went well.
Well, good. So you're back in business.
I'm back in business, and I'm feeling so much better. I don't know when that when that disease started. It could have started sometime. It could have stopped sometime after I guess August, but the bacteria was building itself on the broken plate that I had, and so they took it all out and gave me the the antibiotic. It took them 3 days to find the antibiotic that would kill this disease, and it did. And all I can say, it just wasn't my time.
Fantastic. Good. Well, we're glad of that. Hey, I got to thinking, get ready for the show. You and I first met somewhere around 1973, 74, 72, 50 some years ago, my friend. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to tell our listeners and new viewers from before that how you and I met at Collingdale High School when I was a student and you were a student teacher, substitute teacher.
Yeah, it was one of those incredible good luck things. I got a call from a buddy of mine who was already doing some of the teaching up there for the teachers that were on vacation or took a day off. I was a substitute teacher. I probably was there 2 to 3 days a week, different classrooms. And all I was supposed to do was, hold them in their seats and make sure they weren't roaming the halls. But I ended up doing a little bit of teaching then, and I enjoyed the kids. I really did. And, after the 3:00 bell went off, I went from there to Veteran Stadium to do my weightlifting. So it all worked out really well for me. But I had this one kid, and he was you, and he just couldn't ask enough questions as to what was going on.
Just wouldn't go away.
Especially anything that had to do with sports.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of truth to that. And I tell you, it was great for us as high school guys. We were hanging out with an eagle.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there was 3 guys that I coached when I really got familiar with them. They wanted to get in a weightlifting meet, and I became their coach. And that was really an interesting and something I'll never forget. These 3 guys went into the into the scrum, I say, of participating. It was a bench press, a squat, and a deadlift, and I had tears in my eyes at the end. The way they focused, the way they gave it their best efforts. A couple of them came in like second and third in their division, its weight class, and I just thought, boy, where were these kids, and how come there's not enough help getting them into these programs? And that's something I'll never forget. Those kids, they went out there that day and tried to prove that they were somebody.
That's awesome. Hey, let's talk about a little bit of the Eagles. A lot being said about the Eagles play calling under new OC Kevin Patullo. Not getting A.J. Brown the ball, not getting Devontae Smith the ball, this and that. But you know what? They're 2-0, pal.
And, that's all that matters, although I think you'll see some differences this week against the Rams. The Rams, really didn't have an answer during the playoffs. And I think they haven't gotten much better, although they've got a little better. But it'll be interesting to see. But as well as I do that this team, anywhere it goes, it's going to be the number one team that the schedule of the competitors, they want to beat them, and they're going to get their very best effort from the teams in their own division and the ones outside their division. And that's when you just got to buckle up your strap and say, hey, we got to do what it takes to win. And I'm really impressed. I'll tell you, I'm really impressed with the clubhouse now, especially our guy A.J. Brown not complaining about only getting, 1 target in the first game. He had 5 receptions in the second, all for 27 yards. And, you don't hear anybody on the team complaining about anything. And Dotson is coming out of, I think, a good situation, making some great catches. But the guy that's running that show, and I think they all respect now more than everything, is our quarterback. Hurts is unbelievable. He can do it all. He doesn't care about getting 300 yards passing if they win the ball game. And his ability to run has even gotten better than it's been in the past. So they'll just keep doing what they have to do to win. That's all you need to do. And then the other thing you have to do, you got to keep healthy. You just got to stay healthy some way. And that's not always something that you can, look forward to and prevent.
Yeah. Well, I think, as well as I do, you win games in the National Football League by not turning the ball over. One of the big things. And I think the Eagles knew their defense was in pretty good shape in this game. They created the turnover that ended up being the big play. They also, in my mind, statistically, I say they created another turnover on the 4th down stop. So they got the interception, they got the 4th down stop, and they went into a little bit of an offensive protective game plan because the defense was in good shape. And why take a chance of making their own turnover or Jalen Hurts getting hurt with the 7-man or 8-man rush they were throwing out there?
Well, I think they knew they could they could wait this team out and eat the clock up. I really do. And I think your analogy there is really good. You don't want to get somebody hurt in that situation. And as long as you're moving the ball, you're taking the time off the clock. And I just thought they did an excellent job of doing that. And they got a couple first downs, going in that drive. And, they knew where they were too. They knew where they were. And once again, the tush push, was used, I think, 3 times, and one of them was a 4th and 1 that was critical. And where would we be without that play?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I like it. Hey, over on the defensive side, which I know you just love, they're an average age of 24 on the defense right now. With the addition of Jihaad Campbell and Andrew Makuba, they're stepping in as rookies, and we kind of want to forget, I guess, already that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper Dejean are just second-year guys. This defense is really, really young.
It's really young. It's really aggressive, and I think it's very talented. The speed on this team is something we've never had. You mentioned a couple of the cornerbacks names, and Dejean, Cooper Dejean is one of the fastest guys on the team, and he came in as a rookie, not acting like a rookie, and so did Mitchell. And these guys, if you have that kind of confidence, and you have the skill sets, you're fast, you're strong, you're bright, you know how to read plays and stuff. Yeah, you can be an all-pro in your rookie year if you put it all together. And these guys were very close to doing that. I'll tell you, I really like the new linebacker that you mentioned. He's doing a fantastic job. Now that he's had 2 games under his belt, he's only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the remaining linebacker, Zach Bond, he's to me, he's an interesting kind of guy because he's broken the mold of what Ray Lewis looked like, big and thick and heavy. This guy looks like a sprinter that can bring the hammer with him, but he's all over the field. He's hunting down guys in the backfield or chasing pass coverage.
Well, this is very interesting you bring that up. Back in the day, I was Bill Bergey's backup. Bill weighed 255 pounds, only on Mondays when he couldn't eat on Sunday because we all had to get on the scale. He played at about 260 throughout the season. He was 6 foot, and he played on the top of his toes. He had very, very strong below-the-belt muscles in his legs and his feet. He wasn't a big weightlifter, but he had some bulk up there. And he could chase down anybody. He challenged me week after week in a 40-yard dash. And, he was determined to get me. And he never got me, and he shouldn't have. I was 35 pounds lighter than him. But, you don't see guys coming along like that anymore that can play that position that well. And I think what has happened also, the defensive coordinators, they understand now that everybody's bigger. The offensive lines are all over 300 pounds. Usually, they're coming in on an average of 330, 340 as you go across the line. And you can't have the 230-pound linebacker or 225-pound linebacker taking on those one-on-one blocks. You got to have, some more muscle in there. And I think that's going out through the league. But you mentioned Bond. He's special. Yeah. He was, I know, 15 yards behind a guy, maybe 12 yards behind a guy that caught a pass last week. And he had the angle, and he made the tackle at about the 12-yard line. He never gave up. And I'm like, look at this guy run at his size. And Fazio has figured out this guy is talented, and he's put him in a position to succeed. That doesn't happen a lot of times. Some of the coaches say, this is our program. This is our format. Here's what we're going to run. No, this Fazio, he sits back there and says, how can I eliminate this guy being in there when he's got a weakness somewhere? And how can I get him to get more snaps when they're playing right up his alley with what his strength is? So I think you're going to see him continue, to grow. And he's obviously the leader of the defense right now.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you mentioned about staying healthy. I saw an interesting stat I jotted down. I wanted to share with you, and you already brought it up. The offense has played already. They played 123 snaps so far in the 2 games. Jalen Hurts has played all of them, but so has Lane Johnson, Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens, and Jordan Mailata. They've played every snap so far. Only Landon Dickerson missed 11 snaps on that offensive line. And on the defensive side, 121 snaps. Zach Bond, Cooper Dejean, Quinyon Mitchell, and Reed Blankenship have played every one of those snaps. Can you maintain that? Is that even possible to play every snap every game?
Boy, defensively, when you're talking about cornerbacks and safeties, when they're switching up wide receivers on you in the fourth quarter, you got to have some guys you can count on that have the speed to hold on, even though they don't have the experience sometimes. I mean, experience is a wonderful thing, but if you don't have the speed to get to the guy after he gets away from you, then what good is the experience? And I haven't seen them, moving that backfield around, only because the other thing is they're young, and they're 24. You talked about it. A couple of them there are 23, and they're young, and so those two things do well for them. And the defensive coordinator Fazio, I mean, he is really something else. This guy, he doesn't give up any of his secrets.
Yeah.
He really doesn't care what anybody thinks about him, but he loves the guys that come in that utilize their best talents and their best strengths and are smart. And he'll put those guys in the ball game and with confidence. And I think that's really important. Now the down linemen, for the down linemen to go those many snaps, you usually see a lot of substitution, and makes the offensive linemen, vulnerable because they're going to play every snap.
Right.
And when you're doing these substitutions, but these guys were playing so well, you don't want to change what's working there. And that definitely, that defensive line was working well together. They really forced some situations where, not only in a Dallas game, but in the last week's game of the quarterback scrambling around for their life.
Well, tell me, talking about the defensive line as a teammate and a leader, what do you say to Jalen Carter if you're on his football team after the debacle on week one? Or do you let the coaching staff deal with it and you take care of your own business and let them take care of him?
If I'm Bill Berge in that situation where I'm the leader, okay, Bill would have said in his own voice, "Listen, we can't do that. We'll get 15 yards." He always sounded like he had a different voice. But anyway, as I saw what happened behind the scenes where the Dallas quarterback Prescott was spitting, but he said he was spitting on the ground. He didn't hit anybody. I think Carter didn't mean to spit on him, meant to hit the dirt also. I think they were going to match spits, but he just wasn't good enough, and he hit the guy. I mean, it was almost criminal. And, if they had treated, think about this, if the rules had been reversed, that thing would have been a runaway game.
Oh, yeah.
You take your quarterback out. So that's a lesson he learned. And the other thing is, you can't intimidate people that are playing professional football. I don't know why these guys waste their breath and what anything else. And they only do is they make them angrier. And then when the game gets out of control, these guys, then they start mouthing off back to you. I just don't see it, but that's the way some of them are.
I hear you. Hey, Nick Sirianni, he's coached 70 games now and he's won 50 of them. Hard to believe it's year 5 already. 50-20. We know he's got a bunch of talent, but what are we dealing with here with this guy? Only 3 guys. Guy Chamberlain in the 1920s, John Madden and Vince Lombardi have better winning percentages right now than Nick Sirianni. What are we dealing with here?
Overall, I think after they did the practices and the first year, I believe they bought into his system. And his system had a lot of education in it. As you get 90 minutes out there in a practice, man, you got to get a lot of stuff in. You don't get 91 minutes, you get 90 minutes. That alarm goes off and the coach has got to leave the field. So you really have to have fundamentals. And he took, I think, he took the high road and said, I want to be around here for 4 or 5 years. And at least and until I teach them the fundamentals that they can rely on year after year, then we can put the offense in a position to score, the defense in their best position. And I think they've really bought in. The guys that came in there that were playing for him, you talked about that offensive line. There's some seniors on that line that, he really took control of. You talk about Johnson, you talk about Mailata. I mean, what what a story there. What a book is waiting for that. A guy playing Australian football. And the only thing that I'm concerned about, and I hope if it comes down to a playoff game, is you got to put him in the backfield if it's 4th and 4. if you've seen his clips from rugby,
oh yeah,
he was dragging 2-3 people at a time and didn't break stride.
Massive.
But they're afraid to get him hurt, for the season. But I wouldn't be surprised, but they're doing the tush push so well that if they had that 4th and 3 and they put him in the backfield, they could even do that as a decoy. I think that that's the only thing I think they're missing there is that opportunity.
There you go. Hey, I wanted to ask you before we run out of time. You mentioned a book, and do you still have your books? Christmas season's coming. Do you still sell your books? And give a quick rundown maybe for people that don't know about it.
Well, I started my book 5 years ago with the help of my very best friend, John Reilly. And John, it was his first attempt at a book, and we got a book out there. We were, God was good with us. I got to talk to people just, locally and socially that, I said, oh, you wrote a book, or you know about book writing. And they gave me a lot of information that John and I would have probably had to find out through, going through the process and, oh, this wasn't good, that wasn't good. And they gave us a really good structure to write the book about. It's under 200 pages, 194 pages. The chapters are short and sweet. We were told to do that. We were told to make sure that every chapter started on the right-hand margin, or right-hand page rather than the left. And they told us to make the make the chapter small, 3-4 pages at a time, because that's what happens out there with everybody's focus. They pick up these real thick books that have 30-page, chapters. It takes a couple hours to read, where somebody will say, I'm on the bus right now, maybe I'll read 1 or 2 chapters in this book. And so many people have told me when I get to about the 3rd or 4th chapter, I'm still reading because we got them hooked. And one other thing that this is interesting, you'll get a kick out of. The guy that really, really helped me with this, we were looking for somebody that would know football, know if we made any mistakes on any of the statistics we put in or anything like that. And I'm going to ask you, who would you pick to interview your book and give you honest feedback? And he lives in the Philly area.
You broke up.
The Eagles.
You broke up. I didn't hear you, but I only caught some of that. But I'm going to say Ray Didinger. Did we lose you? It was Ray Didinger. Ray Didinger. I think we lost your sound, Kevin. I think he's frozen up on me. Come on, Kev. Jump back in there. Well, I think we lost them. If we get them back, we will get it together, and we will thank him for joining us anyway. With that said, we'll move on. Philly Pressbox Radio is part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. That's right. It's the network set up by our pal, Phil Stifle, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep, you can find Philly Pressbox Radio there in addition to our own YouTube channel and on the Facebook and on our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be. With that, we want to say happy 19th anniversary to Phil. We don't want to miss out on that. And congratulations, Phil and bride, 19 years. That's a good one. All right, September means there's a lot going on over at the Irish Rover Station House, so here we go.
Just because I'm not on our show live tonight doesn't mean I won't take a minute to promote the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, one of my favorite places to visit for a beer or two and terrific food. The Rover has trivia every Wednesday at 7, dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, killer burger Thursdays, as well as Thursday evening specials on wings and Stella Artois. And hey, another great event is coming up at the Rover in a few weeks. It's when this great Irish bar goes German for the day and celebrates Oktoberfest. Saturday, October 4th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Always a blast with German food and beers and all sorts of other fun. As a lover of German beers, it is a real favorite of mine. If you have yet to visit, be sure to check this place out. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne and on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hey, whitey man, I miss you. When I listen to the Phillies.
Hi, I'm singer-songwriter and diehard Phillies fan Chuck Brodsky, and you're watching Bill and Chet knock it out of the park on Philly Pressbox Radio. Go Phils.
All right, all right. As I mentioned in the opening, Chet was going to make a cameo appearance tonight, so here we go. He sat down just this afternoon with Phillies radio analyst Kevin Stocker to talk NL East champion Phillies. So here is their talk.
You know this gentleman from his time playing shortstop for the Phillies in 1993 and beyond, and these days from his work on the radio as an analyst with Scott Fransky. We say hello to Kevin Stocker. Hey, Stock, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. So, Kevin, it's funny how things work out. Last year, you made your annual visit to our show on September 25th. It was 2 days after the Phillies clinched the NL East Division title. This year, it's 8 days earlier on the calendar, but it's 2 days after the Phillies clinched the East Division title. I'm going to go ahead and book you for next year in September also, all right?
No, I like it. That's good. What a coincidence. I had no idea about that. That's great.
Yeah, I didn't either. I just looked that up today, and I was amazed. Well, speaking of such things, when you were on our show last year on that September 25th date, I pulled out this one quote that you said. You said, this team, last year's team, is built to win the World Series. It's World Series or nothing for these guys. Of course, it didn't quite work out that way, thanks to those stinking Mets. But the core guys are still here. Some guys are out injured. There are some new faces since the trade deadline. How are you feeling about this team as the regular season winds down?
Well, good. You know, it's interesting. I think about that quote and talking about World Series or nothing. And what I was referring to is these guys, to them, winning the World Series was all that mattered. So the fact, like, you can talk about, oh, you did really well, you got to the playoffs, that just, it didn't register with them. They didn't care about that. They just cared about winning the final game. I would say this, the team here, I think, as long as they can get everybody back, right? We got a couple of injuries that have been a little bit of an issue. They're still playing really well, but I think they'll need those guys back. I also think, coming back out of spring training at the beginning of the year, people have asked me about this team and the attitude, and it was very businesslike with this team, right? So I think last year, because of what had happened with Arizona, they had a little chip on their shoulder the whole season, all the way into the playoffs. And they were up and down, up and down. This year out of spring training, much more businesslike. You know, think about, they got rid of like the water splashing after the games, and they just really got to work. And I think the work is really starting to shine right now. And you're seeing that at the end of the season. So I still think this team is in the driver's seat. I think that they're peaking at the right time. I do think they're going to need a few of those pieces back. Alec Boehm should be back, Trey Turner and so forth. So, yeah, I still like where this team is at.
You mentioned the injuries and the Zach Wheeler health issue. How has the team managed to play so well despite the losses of those guys and, Alec Boehm? I mean, they've been fantastic, actually, the last 3 or 4 weeks.
It's pretty remarkable how the team responded after Zach Wheeler. I mean, how devastating was that? Here's the top pitcher in baseball, really. Goes down, and it would have been easy for the team to kind of fold and go the other way. And basically what we saw was the pitching staff really stepped up. The offense, I think, was going to come. That was a matter of time. But the pitchers had to go, okay, Christopher Sanchez, for example, so much more mature now. No problem. Took that on. Luzardo, Ranger's been pitching really well. And I think you have to lean, when things like this happen, you have to lean on your strengths. And the starting staff and the depth certainly are the strength here. So for them to come back, the pitchers were great. And then I think also with the injuries in the lineup, And Dave Dombrowski and his team understand the idea that it's more than just a 26-man roster. I know this sounds so, you've heard us say it before, but teams dip now down into AAA and even AA more than they ever have, and they do it consistently through the season. So you have to have the depth down there, and those guys have really stepped up. So those are just a couple of things: the starting staff, and then of course the depth guys.
When Trey Turner was sidelined last year with a hamstring issue, it took him quite a long time after that to look like his old self. He seemed like he was a little bit tentative, maybe. This year, it's probably going to be a shorter turnaround, and he'll be back, hopefully, going right into the postseason. Is that a concern?
No, it's not a concern for me. Now, the strain that he had, or the pull that he had a year ago, was legit. It was a big one.
Right.
I mean, it took time. I think when he came back, he had to make sure that it was going to be good to go, that sort of thing. I don't think this one, I don't know if they rate him like 1, 2, 3, all that sort of thing. This one was just a little bit of a tug. You feel a tug back there, so it's very precautionary, but I think he'll be fine. I think they would love to get him back. And when I say they, I mean Trey. Trey wants to come back before the end of the season, even if it's just 2 or 3 games, just to kind of get the blood flow and see how it feels. I have my concerns about that. I mean, if they can get themselves into a bye situation, I'm like, give him more time. But Trey's like, no, I want to get in there. That's a good sign. That means, at least for me, it tells me that he's feeling good and that he's not concerned about it. So I just think he'll come right back in and shouldn't be a problem. I will say this. The concern about that is part of Trey's success this year has been his ability to get on base and run, and the acceptance of, hey, I might give up a little bit of power for getting on base, hitting the other way. And what I mean by that is the simple things that we take for granted. Him running from, for example, home to first base, he has been giving it everything he has. His sprint speed is up, and he runs hard every time. That puts so much pressure on the defense. When you come back from a little bit of a leg injury like this, what I'm hoping is that he doesn't have any concerns about that, and he can still do that. Because if that shuts down the running game, that's a big part of his game and a big part of the Phillies' success. He should be fine.
How about the 3 guys Dave Dombrowski acquired before the trade deadline? Relievers Duran and Robertson, and of course the center fielder Harrison Bader. Those guys have been fantastic.
Man, where do you want to start? Let's start with Bader.
Yeah.
Let's start with Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader is a very colorful guy, right? I mean, he's got a lot of things to him about him. He's been hot. He also plays with no fear. And so, that really helps when you come into an experienced team. They accepted him. He came in. He belongs in here. He understands his role. He plays a really good center field more than anything. It covers the ground. I go back to his first game in here, and I don't know if you remember, but I certainly do. He's playing center field, and he let a ball, and it wasn't just his fault, but a ball fell that he could have gotten. It fell out there. From that point on, he has just been a guy that has controlled center field. He said, I'm no longer going to let that happen. So he has fit in really well. You go to the pitching staff, Rob, I mean, a veteran guy came in terrific shape. He understands the situation. He understands that he's going to come in, his role. He's not intimidated at all. So he's been a real uplift for them as far as a right-handed guy. And I think he helps Ryan Kirkring, who's been up and down. So now you have another option back there. And then Dejean, I mean, you get a legitimate closer. So people are like, oh, he's great. He has a guy that close. But what does he do for the rest of the guys? You have to think about this. It was closer by committee, and that's a tough job. Not everybody wants to do it. Now all of a sudden he comes in and says, I want it. In my opinion, the rest of the guys in the bullpen, whether it's Matt Strom or Ryan Kirkering, you could certainly, at the time, you could have said Romano, who is now injured, but at the time, these guys take a big, deep breath and go, okay, now I'm back into the role that I'm comfortable. And that goes a long way in the pen. So those 3 fit right in.
Well, it's pretty certain now the Phillies will have one of the top 2 seeds in the National League in the postseason.
Nice.
First round bye that goes with it, which is great. So how will Rob Thompson line up the rotation to start the postseason? We know it's going to be Sanchez, but can you go with 3 straight lefties?
Well, I don't know. How do I know that, Chet, right?
You're the analyst. You're the expert.
So you're asking me how will he, and I'll say how will I think he will do it, because he's been pretty tight-lipped. He did say yesterday that Christopher will start 1. Okay, so we do know that. At that point, it's really going to be, and I believe Rob when he says it's going to be a little bit of a matchup situation. In other words, he's got Ranger, of course, he has Luzardo, and he has Nola, and everybody's all concerned about Aaron Nola. Aaron is just a one inning has been getting Aaron right now. But he is that right-hander guy that has the experience. He still gets another start. I think that goes a long way. So he will look at a team And I don't know, I'd have to dive into, but let's say if it was the Mets, for example, are they better or worse against left or right-handers? That will determine pitcher 2 and 3. If it happens to be Arizona, like I don't know who it's going to be, but he will look at the strengths and weaknesses of that team. For example, the Phillies, a lot of teams are like, oh man, these guys are susceptible to left-handed pitching. So teams against the Phillies will want to go in there and start lefties. So it will be a little bit of a matchup scenario. Now, if Aaron goes out there his next start and just absolutely deals for 6 or 7 innings, I'd be surprised if they let him go that long. But that might change things. But I believe Rob when he says it'll be Christopher and then a little bit more of a matchup situation.
If it's the Dodgers and Mets playing as the 3-6, do the Phillies have any concerns about going back to Citi Field if the Mets were to pull off the upset of the Dodgers?
No, I don't know. I mean, we all do, right, as fans, just based off the history of it. But the players don't really think like that. It just not as much as we do. I mean, it's probably certainly there, but the players for the most part, like I said, they get through the regular season. Once you get to the playoffs, and you start to play, it's a complete different season, and you can usually separate from that.
Some of the Phillies bats went silent at the worst possible times, of course, over the last couple of Octobers. As hitters, what can you do to ensure that doesn't happen again this time around?
Nothing. The work stays the same. That's the one thing about this team. In fact, I was talking with Otto Kemp yesterday, and it was such a great. This team is so approachable, and it's great. I can ask them weird questions. So I asked Otto, and this goes to your question, I'll get there, but I asked Otto, he was up and then he got sent down and then he came back up and he's playing and hitting really well. And I said, was there anything that you did differently when you went down? And there's the obvious thing is when you get sent down, you realize, first of all, that the speed of the game is drastically slower at AAA. So you go, okay, so now you've got that experience. The other thing that he said to me, I love, he said, what I took was when I went back down to AAA, I took the routine that I learned from the guys up here. I took it down there and used it. The routine that Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto has instilled in everybody, that work routine. And what he said was when I went down there, I kept the routine so that I made sure that I was scratching everything I needed to because I was missing some things in his preparation. So, for example, the routine in the cage, off the tee, the work that he did prior to every start, he had a different routine up here. He took it with him. And now all of a sudden, there was no surprises. So, to your question is what can you do as a hitter? You do the same work. There's nothing more you can do other than you get it prepared, you work, and then you go up there and try to grind out good at-bats. That would be the one thing is to make sure these guys are grinding those at-bats because the pitching in the playoffs is going to always be the top 3 guys. It's going to be the Ohtani for the Dodgers. It's going to be those guys. So they just have to continue to work, not get too high, not get too low.
I mentioned the division clinching the other day and the locker room celebration that followed. Looked like a real good time. What were the celebrations like back in 1993 when you and Macho Rowe and company clinched the NL East and then beat the Braves in the NLCS?
It's the same. I mean, you get in there, the plastic. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's very much the same. I don't remember the cigars as much as they do now, but there's a lot of champagne flowing. We didn't have the goggles. We weren't smart enough to get goggles back then, but now they have goggles for everybody. But it's just the one difference might be here. You have 3 or 4 celebrations if you continue to win.
Right.
Back then, it was just you won the NLCS and then you went to the World Series. Like there were 2 celebrations we had at the one, but ours was in Pittsburgh, and it was a thrill of my life. It was fantastic, but yeah, a lot of champagne flowing.
Well, last thing, I watched your Bulls session visit with John Brazier and Mickey Morandini last month. Brazier's a friend of this show. He does our show every spring. And you gave some great, interesting insight into your development as a color analyst over the 4 or 5 years you've been doing it with the Phillies, with Scott Fransky. So I'm going to ask you, what is the key to being a good analyst on radio, and how much tougher has it become with the advent of the pitch clock a few years ago?
Those are a couple of great questions. So this is what I would say. So before I was doing radio with Fransky, I was doing television for college baseball, Pac-12, ESPN, and so forth. And that was on television. So this is what I tell people that ask that question. When you do a color or analyst work on television, the color guy is the man because there's a lot of time to fill. You can call for replays. You can, if you have a teleprompter, you can draw things out. And I really did, and I enjoy that because you can really show the fans things. So you're the guy. On radio, it flops. So the play-by-play is the guy because Scott has to describe and really paint the picture. And as an analyst, you have to pick the times to get in there. So that was something that I had to learn how to do. Now, prep-wise, I try to do as much prep as I can, but I also want to bring in some things to Scott that get him out of stats, that get him out of that, some fun things that we can talk about. Because Scott loves to, and I do too. I love it when he has a different opinion than I do. And I don't pretend to know all of it. All I can do is give you what I think and what I've experienced. But there are still things that I learn, and then I also want him to learn things. So those discussions are so much fun. So I really enjoy the radio part of it. It's a lot more casual. I don't have to, I don't have to wear makeup or do things like that. I can, we go, if the game's at 7, we go on at 7. I mean, I really like that part of it. So it's been a lot of fun. Now that's the first. What was the second part of that question? Was there 2 parts?
I think there were 2 parts. Oh, the advent of the pitch clock.
The pitch clock. So yes. So the tough thing about that is, and just let me go on record by saying I love the pitch clock. I mean, I do.
Too.
I don't love it in the sense that the game needs it, but it needed it. Okay, I think the game times now are averaging 2:38, something like that. It used to be 3:20. The tougher part, I think, has been for storyline. So on the radio, for example, to be able to tell a good story, a backstory of a player, to get into that depth has been a challenge and can be challenging now. So that's the one thing where it's been tough. But we always have something to complain about. I don't want to complain about that. So yeah, it's just still a lot of fun.
Another Red October is approaching. We look forward to the 3-man booth, you, LA, and Scott Fransky together. And we're hoping it goes right into early November. Catch this guy on 94 WIP and the Phil's Radio Network. Kevin Stalker, thank you.
You betcha. See you, man.
Boy, that was good. I wish we could talk to Chet a little bit about that, how it ended up. Real interesting take on Otto Kemp, I thought, there with what he learned with his hitting habits and practice preparation habits. That's really good stuff, and shows where the leadership of the ball club is. I like that a lot too. Hey, you know what? What could be better than a September of Phillies baseball and Eagles tailgating with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
It is a busy time of year for Bob Cavanaugh. Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years. Known best for their tailgate parties, Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events, parties, you name it. Of course, Cav hosts tailgates before all Eagles games outside the link. So, yeah, there will be tailgate parties before the Eagles-Rams game this Sunday and before October games against the Broncos and Giants, plus all future home games. Get details on all upcoming events at Cavs' website, phillytailgates.com. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go.
All right. Good stuff again. Hey, we have had some couple great guests tonight, Kevin Reilly, Kevin Stalker. So I asked Chad who was coming to Philly Press Box Radio, you ask, and he sent me a little note. We have a pair of first-timers, and we're excited about the both of them. We'll be joined by longtime Tampa Sports Talk radio host J.P. Peterson, who will help us preview the Week 4 Eagles-Bucks battle down in Tampa, which just might pit a pair of undefeated teams. We'll see. And our other guest, this is really a good one too, to be sure to provide a lot of fun. You know him from his hilarious bits on WIP and on local comedy stages. The man of 1,000 voices, Joe Conklin, is coming to Philly Press Box Radio. That is going to be a blast. How about that? J.P. Peterson and Joe Conklin next week. All right, time to make our weekly picks. Oh, my goodness. This week, we're doing both Boop, Bob Patrone Jr., and Chet's picks via email. I have them here. I haven't read them either like Chet likes to do. But let's see how we did last week. He sent me let me see. There we go. Pick 'em standing so far. Last week, everybody was 4-1. Those two are 9-1 for the season. I'm 8-2, 1 game back. So as I said in the opening, we're doing pretty good here for our first week. So there you go, 9-1, 9-1, 8-2. So for everyone that doesn't know how we do it, we pick the NFC East games. We pick the Sunday night game, no matter who it is, and then we toss in a game to make if we need to make 5. So that's how we do it. Here's what we have this week. We have the Raiders at Washington. The Commanders are -3.5. Dallas at Chicago. Dallas -1.5. Kansas City at the Giants on Sunday night. The Chiefs are -6.5. Our throw-in game is Detroit at Baltimore on Monday Night Football. This should be a really good one. Ravens -4.5. And the Rams are at the Eagles. The Eagles are -3.5. So that's the summary. Here we go. I'm going to have to read these as we go. First game up, Raiders at the Commanders. Boop says Washington had 3 turnovers against the Green Bay team that had forced none the previous week. Boop has taken the Raiders. There's a quarterback question going on down there in Washington, too, this week. Jaden Daniels is still not confirmed to be playing. The commander, or Chet, says, as of midday Wednesday, there you go. We don't know the status of Jaden Daniels, but even if it's Marcus Mariota under center, look for Washington to rebound. Chet picks the Commanders. Bill also picked the Commanders. So Boop with the Raiders, Chet with the Commanders, Bill with the Commanders. Cowboys at the Bears. Boop says this should be a matchup of 0-2 teams because the Cowboys should have lost to the Giants. Sadly, it is not. Boop's picking the Bears. That's an interesting pick for me. Chet, it's painful to pick the stinking Cowboys a second straight week. We're not going to tell everybody we know that he likes the Cowboys. But anyway, here we are. He picks the Cowboys to win. I'm not going to tell him, but I'm picking the Cowboys too. Bears ain't beating the Cowboys. Come on, Boop. Chiefs at the Giants. Boop says this is a matchup of 0-2 teams, and not all 0-2 teams are created equal. Boop is picking the Chiefs. Chet says those dudes from Kansas City are going to take out their frustration on the Giants. This one could be a blowout. Chet's taking the Chiefs. Bill is taking the Chiefs for sure. Lions at the Ravens on Monday night. Boop says this easily could have been the Super Bowl matchup. Now here are 2 teams looking up in the standings already. Boop is picking the Ravens at home. Chet says, expect another fun-to-watch Monday Night Football game. And while this over is a pretty high 51.5 points, take it. Chet's pick, the Ravens. Bill's picking the Ravens at home, too. I like the Lions, though. They're one of my favorite teams. They're pretty good. But I'm going Ravens on this one. Rams at the Eagles. Boop says, no matter the place, no matter the opponent, the Birds just always seem to find a way. Boop's pick, Eagles. Chet says the Birds will need more offense than they managed in week 2, and the odds are good that they'll provide that. Maybe even an eventual through-the-air touchdown. How about that? Chet's pick Eagles in a close one. Bill's taking the Eagles as well. I'm just taking them because I always take them. So there you have it. We got a couple differences this week, so the standings are going to take a little twist one way or the other. I'm thinking Chet and I actually have the same picks. Boop took 2 different ones, so Boop's in a little bit of trouble, I think. All right, next up, our margin of victory pool. I got a graph for that, too. Here we go. Last week, Boop and I both took the Rams. Chet took the Cowboys. He only won by 3. We won by 14. We're all 2-0, but Boop's in the lead, 22-21 to 11. The way the margin of victory pool works for anybody that doesn't know, we pick a team each week. We can't use them more than once. We take the team, and we hope they win by the most points. If they lose the game, we get a 0. If we win the game, we get the margin of victory points. We add them up to keep the total over here. That's the way that works. So our margin of victory picks, let's see. Boop is going with Seattle Seahawks over the Saints. Chet is going Chiefs over Dolphins. Boy, the Chiefs are bad. And Chiefs aren't playing the Dolphins, Chet. Chiefs are playing the Giants. Anyway, because I took the Bills, and the Bills are playing the Dolphins on Thursday night. I have the Bills. So, Chet, he's got the Chiefs. He just didn't – they're not playing who he thought they were playing. So, that's tough luck for him. All right. So, there we have that. We got that all taken care of. All right. Let's see. We got a second. We can talk a little Flyers. As mentioned, the Flyers open their season in 22 days, the regular season. There was a lot of discussion about a possible return of that Carter Hart. It seems those discussions are over before they really started, as the Hart camp thinks a fresh start of scenery change will be the best thing for Carter. He will be playing somewhere, but it won't be with the Flyers. I don't know how people feel about that. It comes with a lot of baggage at this point for all those guys. But, we're all about second chances, and Carter Hart's going to get a second chance, and I wouldn't have had a problem with him doing it in Philadelphia. But we're going to go another direction, and we'll see what happens. I think we're going to see if the rookie camp games that we've seen and what we've heard about what's going on in the rookie camp is any indication, this is going to be a Rick Tocchet type physical team, and I'm looking forward to that. Flyers playoff hockey is long gone, and it needs to be back in a hurry. So I am definitely looking towards that. Couple just small notes. We will be back next Wednesday at our regular time. We talked about the passing of Montreal Canadiens goalie Ken Dryden last week. This week, we lost Rangers goaltender from back in the 70s, Eddie Giacomin. Great goaltender for the Rangers back in the Stanley Cup Flyer days, and he was a menace to the Flyers. And it was always fun watching Flyers Rangers. Eddie Jock in the goal, and that was when you could hit them. And Eddie liked to roam around behind the net, and the Flyers liked to hit him. So that was a lot of fun. But rest in peace, Eddie Giacomin. Of course, Chet couldn't get by without talking about Robert Redford. He left me a note. Be sure you talk about Robert Redford. Great actor. Two of my favorite movies of all time, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid and The Sting. Not to mention The Natural, All the President's Men. The list goes on and on. 89 years old. Rest in peace, Robert Redford. All right. So with that, I think we're a little early, a few minutes early, but we're going to wrap this thing up. Unless anybody's got a quick question they want to throw up here in the comments, we can do that. And PJ says he can't wait to watch the Flyers. And me neither, PJ. Can't wait. Oh, PJ also says he missed the Emmy talk. Thank God. Yeah. I was going to put that in a window here, PJ. I just said, nah, he ain't here. We ain't doing it. We're not doing it when he is here. Oh, Robbie, you're right. Rest in peace, Sundance. No doubt about it. So many great movies. And Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid is, I've said this many times, is probably my favorite movie of all time. I was just right at the age that it was just really great and always enjoyed it. Probably watched it 100 times since then. But The Sting came right behind it not too long after, and it was just as good. Really cool movie as well. So Robert Moser, thank you. Appreciate you joining us. And Denny, yeah, you are getting me to talk about that, Denny. I did my best with Robert Redford. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Let's thank tonight's special guests, Kevin Reilly and Kevin Stocker. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgate, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chechesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, September the 24th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel, and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel, and listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. And as we said before we check out, happy anniversary again to our pal Phil Stifle and Mrs. Stifle. 19 years. What a beautiful thing. All right. With that, High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans. Let's go Phillies and go Birds.
Let's do the song. Come on.